Hello and welcome to the podcast, my friend. I'm so glad you're here with me today. We have a super interesting episode today. I've got Dr. Yel'Ora from Connecticut here today, and she is a nocturnist. And if you're not in the medical world, this is what we call people who work overnight, a nocturnist. And she does this in a hospital in Connecticut, but she also helps people who have weight problems from working overnight as well. And she works with programs that have people that work overnight to help them kind of thrive with a healthy lifestyle. So, welcome to the program, Dr. Yel'Ora.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Heather. Thank you for having me.
Well, please tell everyone a little bit more about yourself and how you got to be here in this world that you're in.
So, hello, everybody. My name is Dr. Yel'Ora. So, at the hospital, most of you know me as Dr. Chinyelu Oredu. So, Yel'Ora is the last part of, Chinyelu, yellow, and the first part of Oredu, Aura. So, Yel'Ora is like my persona, the person who goes to work at night, the dusk to dawn ND. So that's how I coined the name. And I think that when I look back or when I think back on my life, as a kid, I was a kid who had a lot of asthma. I had a lot of nocturnal asthma symptoms, like nighttime, nocturnal is night. So I had a lot of nighttime asthma symptoms and had to go to the hospital so many times. So maybe, I don't know, maybe that's just the way my life started as a night owl. I don't know. Well, so it's, you fast forward, medical school, residency, and having kids, because I have twins. How I actually started working at night. I started residency when my twins were like 4 months old. So naturally, when I finished residency, I felt like I hadn't spent enough time with them. Yeah. They were so young and so cute. And so I just said I work night. My husband was working in the city in New York. So I got stuck into the night shift, kind of. I call it sucking in because I didn't want to do it. But, with kids and hoping to go for my fellowship. But one thing about nights, because I started as a solo in a mid-sized hospital in one of the largest cities in Connecticut, in Stamford. I work at Stamford Hospital. So when I started working nights as a solo nocturnist out of residency, was it scary? Yes. Did I have challenges? Absolutely. But, the ER physicians, the emergency room doctors were like my anchor. They were like always there to like support and help. And I think clinically, it helped me to really grow as a physician, right? The skill, the confidence, and over time, we had more people doing the night shift, but my health also suffered. I gained so much weight. I didn't pay attention or prioritize my health up until the pandemic. I think the pandemic was a pivotal, unfortunately, a lot of people died during the pandemic, but watching the death, as somebody who works at night, there were so many sick people. And of course, you look at, cardiometabolic syndrome, the people that were most affected were people who were unhealthy. Maybe people who just had medical problems that were undertreated or not even treated at all or not even diagnosed. So it got me like thinking that, for myself, I needed to review and, kind of change the trajectory of my life. And I got into coaching. I hired a health coach.
Nice.
She changed my life, despite that she was remote. She gave me accountability. I started eating differently, and I got into the research of night shift work. How can people who work night survive? Not even just survive, but go beyond survival. How can they thrive? It's about thriving. It's about, helping people and meeting them at their greatest point of need. I think that's how you actually help people. When there's that synchronization, what the person wants and what you're offering is in sync. That's when you actually you get effective change. So I think my health coach did that for me, and I just became that person who became very, self-aware. And, because it's all about in life, what you need, that is my opinion, but it worked for me in life. You need balance in life. There's always that juggle. And of course, the moderation, whatever you do, there has to be some level of moderation and self-awareness. When you're self-aware, you have problems, then you seek ways to change them and find solutions. And that's, to me, what coaching does. Did for me, and that's what I people who work with me.
That's really beautiful. It's funny. I only had one baby first, but I also showed up to residency with a 4-month-old and remember the struggles of trying to spend time with family. And the funny thing is we had a couple nights where we were just overnights and not doing, 36-hour shifts and things. And I do remember thinking that this is actually pretty good for family because you work overnight, you see everyone first thing in the morning, you sleep, and then you spend the evening with them, tuck them in bed, and then you go back to work. There was a rhythm to that worked well for the family part.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's why, for me, when I work with people, and that's kind of why I usually recommend, personalized, individualized kind of coaching, sessions, because everybody's case, not case, but everybody's reason or everybody's story for working night shift is totally different. People go to work in the morning. It's kind of a rite of passage. You wake up in the morning. If you don't go to school, if you're not retired, if you're not disabled, you go to work. But when you go to work at night, there's usually a reason for it. You want to spend time with your children. You want to make more money because of the financial perks of it. You want to go back to school. So night shift has, and that's what you have to, tap into that reason and really see if it's worth it. If your health is suffering, if your wellness is at stake, if your loved ones, you don't spend enough time with them, is it worth it working at night? Should you continue it? I do highly recommend that. It could be like a stopgap. You want to work nights for a little. And then for me, I continued working nights for other reasons because I just started to develop and have interest in other passions of mine, because I think there's that part of people who work night who are very entrepreneurial, So, when you kind of, work, when you hear people say that you're waiting for the side gig to become the main gig, so you see that with a lot of night shift workers,
Okay.
The physicians that I've worked with. So, there's just different types of people I have met in working night shift. And it's kind of interesting that, even the studies show that a lot of creative people work at night. Yeah, there's a lot of creative people. There's a lot of people who like autonomy. They just like to come in, do their work. They just, a lot of distractions during the day. So they like to focus. So you find such people that, work in the night shifts too. So
yeah,
it's like a whole ecosystem. I think that's the best description of night.
Yeah. And I love that you're doing this work because, when I was in primary care, you have people who work night shift and come in and they have health challenges. And I felt like many times I could describe like, oh, I have read about what your health challenges are because you work this night shift. And I really do not know what to offer you, other than let's brainstorm together on how we can do something. But you live this world. So you're perfect really to help people with this issue. And
absolutely. Like I said, if your health is suffering, if you just cannot, because there's something called shift work disorder. It's a diagnosis, excessive sleepiness, circadian rhythm disruption. There's really, a medical condition, even in the circadian rhythm, disorder, it's one of the DSM-5, it's listed. So if you really start to exhibit, certain conditions, I think you should, discuss with your supervisor and, your healthcare provider. And I think it's time for you to have that conversation with yourself that you just need to stop. Because what I always tell, my clients people I work with, the whole idea of what I do is to help you, it's to help you minimize your risk of ill health, minimization of risk. So you can prioritize your health and wellness and optimize aspects of your life that you can do better, right, while working at night. But I just cannot totally eliminate the risk. It can eliminate it because the risk is there. The research, there's a lot of research on experimental animals too, but has it been reproduced in human beings? Maybe some of them, but It's an area, there's a lot of gray area, when you talk about, shift work, but, I just talk about it because, most time, as a physician, we tell people don't work at night, just don't work at night. Night, it's horrible. It's going to make you sick. It's going to make you, put on so much weight. But I think as the world has evolved, commercialization, globalization, day shift, it's daytime here, it's morning somewhere, we're moving goods all the, economies are growing. There's need for it. So I think the real conversation should be, how can I help you thrive? And for how long can you do this? And is there a better way that you can, work at night, eat at night, get your family life, make sure, because there's a lot of social isolation. People who work nights will tell you that.
Sure.
Especially around the summertime, you find out that it starts to it starts to affect you at some point that you're never at social event, depending on, summertime, because unless you have a schedule that is very flexible and you have, people you work with, like a team spirit and you can switch around, but most activities for adults happen in the evening. So it could be, it could affect your social life, even your intimate, relationship and all that. So these are like layers that kind of bringing to the surface and getting people to be open about it and see if it's affecting their wellness. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little, for people who aren't familiar, tell us what some of the health risks are, and then we'll get into all the cool things that you help people do about it.
So when I talk about health risks with night shift, the first one is the disruption in your natural circadian rhythm. And what that means is that, because as human beings, we, diurnal, we run around, we do stuff during the day and we sleep at night. That is the natural body rhythm for, humans. But when you work nights, you find out that you go to work, in the reverse, you go to work at night and now you're trying to sleep during the day. And as a result of that, staying awake at night, there's suppression of melatonin. You don't maximally secrete melatonin. Melatonin is the hormone that makes you sleep. It's, secreted, the brain, the small, the pineal gland. So for most people who work day shifts, they go to bed at night, about 10 p.m., the gland starts to secrete melatonin, or even earlier than that. And it peaks about 2 a.m., 2, 3 a.m. That's when you have the highest peak, in melatonin. And melatonin is such an important hormone. It regulates a lot of your body systems. It regulates, not just your mood, digestion, it's anti-inflammatory, it has like anti-tumoral, effects too. So when people work nights, and when you work at night, you're, trying to stay awake, bright light, you don't, it doesn't, your melatonin is not, you're suppressing your melatonin because of the light. So it has been kind of, the research out there says that as a result of that, it puts you at higher risk cancer when you work at night. As a matter of fact, the International Agency on Review of Cancer, I don't know if I'm saying it right, I think it's IARC. It's a big agency, international agency that monitors, the evolution of human cancer. So they have actually labeled night shift work as a possible carcinogen in human. But this is based on research that was done in experimental animals. So this is more like prostate cancer and breast cancer. These were the two that were studied. But as a result of that too, you still have, the risk of cardiometabolic syndrome when you work at night, higher risk of that, which means, heart disease, higher risk for obesity, more especially, central obesity, the adiposity in the midsection. And this is due to the reversal of melatonin and cortisol, because now higher cortisol because of the stress of the body being in the opposite rhythm, disruption in the body rhythm, and of course, the suppression of melatonin. So obesity is a problem. They have 3 times the risk compared to people who work at day shift. There's been a lot of studies, mostly in nurses, but I'm going to say that it seems like in the European countries really do a lot on occupational health, and around shift work. There's a lot studies coming from Europe. So, I mean, in addition to that, there's also mental health. There's high risk for mental health, anxiety.
Okay.
But I just have to put this that another problem with night shift is, besides that you have the disruption in your natural circadian rhythm, there's also tendency for night shift work to be prolonged. The hours are very long
Oh, okay.
hours, at some jobs. And with that, there's the risk for fatigue. So there's a lot of fatigue and decreased alertness, and it puts you at risk for personal injuries, including motor vehicle accidents.
Oh gosh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. So that's another thing that, actually when I do the workshop, it's good to bring it to the consciousness of, employers and administrative staff and, HR, when people work nights. You have to encourage people to, take naps, encourage people to take, ride shares if they're feeling, tired or sleepy, and so that they don't drive.
Yeah, good point.
It's important for people to know that driving while you're tired or, extremely very exhausted and sleepy is just as dangerous as driving intoxicated. It's the same, the level of inhibition. So these are like some of the effects. I mean, they're kind of, there's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot of things. And does that weight gain, around the belly area, does that also increase the risk for diabetes as well then too, or?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, diabetes and weight gain.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty much you go together. But this is all risk. And I have to put it out that it's not that everybody who works at night will have cardiometabolic syndrome, cancer, diabetes, but it's just that the risk is higher. And talking about obesity too, I'll just add one thing. Part of the problem that night shift workers have, there's predisposition, is also that availability of food at night.
Yeah. Talk about that night shift eating, because that's definitely a culture too, right?
The whole idea of night shift eating, when at nighttime, I mean, I have been at a hospital that, the cafeteria closes at 3 p.m. But does it make sense from a business standpoint?
Yeah.
What happens to the visitors who come in after work? People go to work maybe in the evening time during the week, they visit their family members. So when you go so early, you're losing out on, I think that you're going to lose out on some people that would have come in and go get coffee or you get a salad or something.
Yeah.
Too early. That's what I think. I think 3 p.m. on a weekday in a hospital is too early for the cafeteria to wrap up for the day. But it's part of the problem with night shift. When you think about your routine as somebody who works night, you work nights for your kid. Maybe you make dinner. Most people try to have like a meal prep and, get things ready and, the family. But you have to know that the people that are not really that organized, which is part of what I do, try, get into a routine when you work at night. And they depend on whatever they can eat or find at work. So you come in at 6 p.m., 7 p.m., cafeteria is closed, vending machine.
Yeah, that's the worst, right?
The vending machine, or maybe you're going to order some food. Mm-hmm. And what happens at night, most of the I don't want to call their names, but the kind of food you're going to get, late hours of the night, and it doesn't encourage, it promotes the obesity cycle.
Sure. Snacky type food, wing,
salty, high fat.
Yeah, fried.
So these are all the challenges that people who work nights may also have. And of course, in addition to that, when you don't sleep, as somebody who works at night, when your sleep, right, and you don't prioritize your sleep, it's going to be extremely hard for you to control your appetite.
Right. You can't even tell if you're hungry or full, right? You just are like, I think I need something, and it's probably food. If your sleep's off, right?
You just trying to, and part of it too is trying to eat to stay awake.
Yeah.
Are you really hungry, or are you just eating to stay awake? I think sometimes you have to really know that, I ate dinner before coming to work. I shouldn't be craving pizza or something. I am not hungry. I just want to stay awake. So So that's part of it too. Although, in the healthcare setting, there have been studies that show that nurses who work day shift were actually more active in terms of, during the shift compared to nurses who work at night. The night nurses are more sedentary.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that also contributed to, the risk of obesity. So
Okay. I suppose like the testing and the meds mostly are during, not completely, but mostly during the day.
there's more interaction during the day. During the day, there's
Yeah.
interaction, the families at the bedside, pharmacy, meetings. But nights are a little bit slower, and it's not, you can understand that, you're just going to, hand over the meds and maybe go back to the computer. So maybe, that was kind of the reasons that were, given for, the study, when they questioned the reason for the, disparity. And that's why a tracker is really good. I'm somebody who, I'm actually charging my own now. I do like to track, my activity. When I work at night, there's tendency for you to be sedentary, when you're not, especially healthcare. There's so many other jobs that work nights besides, healthcare workers.
Sure. But you're right. It's nice to have that. I mean, the great thing about a lot of those trackers is they tell us, at 10 minutes before the hour, get up, or for you to stand up again. And it helps, right? You kind of lose track of yourself.
It does help. Actually, I got one of those under the desk stepper or whatever you call them.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't really register on my tracker, I just like the feeling of the circulation, stepping and getting that movement, Yeah. Anything to just get people to move, I am all for it.
Yeah. So what else do you tell people about work-life balance for a nocturnist or a night shift worker?
So, when I work with people, besides, the onboarding, the initial intake, and then of course, you got to talk to the person, why do you work at night? It's like a very simple question, but there are layers to that, because it really gets you thinking that exactly, it gets you like focusing on exactly how you're going to navigate those challenges when they come up. And in addition to that, I also like, I get into the whole family system, what is the support that you have? Like a few minutes ago, my landscaper was out. Today's what? Today's Friday. Oh, even Thursday. But my landscaper, he on the days because I'm off this week, I just have to have that conversation with him. I put a sign, listen, I just need absolute quietness. I just need to get some rest. So they're just like, personal tips that people don't really think about them, but they can actually, enhance your wellness. I guess most people work day shift, but there's still like 15 million people who work nights, or even way more than that, because the studies show that one out of every 4 persons do work night shift. So that's my position. So, and this is like shift work, people that do evening shift and night shift. And so it's a personalized, program that we get to be in sync. I think it's the sync that is what makes it unique, be in sync with where you are in life. And because I always say that most important thing is to meet you at your point of need.
Nice.
I don't meet you, then I can't help you. And if I don't help you, and that means you can't change. So
what suggestions do you have for people? I meet a lot of people who one of them works like spouses or life partners who one works night and one works, morning or afternoon, or, what kind of things do you suggest for families where they're on different schedules?
There has to be a lot of communication. I think, you just have to emphasize communication, because I work with residents, and I'll just, share a story with you. I don't know. Do we have time?
Yeah, please.
Okay. So I work with my residents, and, he told me that his parents are both physicians. And this was like back in the days, the schedule was like, hectic. And people used to go to work for like, 4 days nonstop, So one was in a surgical specialty, and I think his father was internal medicine. But anyway, what happened was that the father used to bring them. He had like siblings. There were like 3 or 4 of them. They used to come to the hospital to eat dinner with their mother at night. almost every night. He makes the dinner. They just put it in the bag and come to the hospital, and they all share and they all eat together in the hospital cafeteria or call room somewhere together. And when he said that, it didn't really register till I just started, doing my coaching program, and I just said, you know what, I'm gonna add this to my story. When a family communicate, when there's effective communication, you can find solutions to any problem.
Yeah.
Because the children are on board. They understand that this is a transitionary period for the family. Things are a little bit different, but underlying that is love and sacrifice. And we need to communicate. What that means is that mom and dad, there've been times that myself and my husband, we had to like switch the kids on the highway. There's something, up here, this is family life, there's about 68% of families that do work overlapping shift. It's a high number of, families that do that. So there've been times that my husband is running late. I have to be at work. Kids are fed. Everybody's in their pajamas. I just bundle. When they were younger, they couldn't stay home alone. I bundle them, and then we have the spot, and then we switch the kids, and we go to, I head off to work. It's a family thing. And then, of course, you have your special moments that when you're off, you have to, give time and attention and affection to your significant other. And then like I said, the story, your why determines how long you're going to do it. If your family unit is not working out, then the job is not working out.
Right.
Yeah. So,
but it sounds like it can too. I love that. I think sometimes we have this idea of what we want for our kids, but actually what they want us to feel safe and loved. And so, they get passed off from one parent to the other. That's probably a joyful thing. I imagine that the dinner at work is a fun thing for them. And it's that whole thing, we all love that idea of the family meal that is so good for our kids and so good for our family unit. And that sounds beautiful. And just because it's at work and not, whatever your thought is, it should be at a dinner table at home. It really, it's the time together, right? And
yeah, because times have changed. People work, women work, women do hard things now. They have top education and they just want to work outside the home. And they want to have kids. People want to have it all. I think that's just what it is. And, also have a partner and be in a loving relationship. But sometimes you need that temporary measure. You need that short-term solution to a bigger picture. And I just like to say that, there's really something about, for myself, my children are older now, but there's something about having somebody in charge. And I always tell my kids, when mommy is not home, there's always somebody in charge, and it's not daddy, because they're teenagers now. The kitchen has to be clean. And I think there's some kind of role play and leadership that evolves when maybe you're not around every night.
Yeah.
And you just have to get into a routine of knowing what to do, and somebody is in charge every night. Not a matter of the oldest person. Even the youngest one, they kind of rotated. And then when you come home, you see that you're doing a good job, because children just have to, nowadays, you want them to think for themselves. You want some level of resilience that is age appropriate. And you just want them to thrive. But like I said, it's short term. It's not for everybody. You just have to do what works for your family. And that's where the communication kind of comes in.
I love that. And since you said that there's a lot of creative thinkers at night, they're going to come up with the solutions. And if they need help, they can come talk to you, right?
I just look at it, like on my radio show, the reason I started the night shift lifestyle show with Dr. Yel'Ora, I just said, you know what? I need like a bigger reach. People that know me know that I talk about night shift, but I just want to hear regular people's stories, not just physician stories or my residents or the nurses, regular people. Parents calling, oh, my son works night shift. He's a long distance truck driver. He's gaining so much weight. And then when you talk to people who are in the trucking business, they just tell you the same problem, that, they drive long distance, middle of the night, and then they get to the rest area. They don't have the amenities to, cook healthy meals, even if it's like a hot plate a refrigerator, or so that you can prepare something fresh and for yourself,
Yeah.
in the rest stop. So you start to hear from normal, not normal, but regular people who are not in healthcare, but
Yeah.
who all face the same challenges. So that's what the show, it's kind of bringing it to the doorstep and, getting people to kind of chime in and call in, and so we can know how we can help them, solution to be a little bit more out there so that everybody can get a little bit and participate. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love the optimism you bring to it too, that these are figure outable problems, and by working with folks that, they can find solutions that will work for this, or also make plans if they don't want to do this for always. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit more about your radio show, because people can find it online, right, if they want?
Yeah, it's on WICC 600 AM 107.3 FM. So I do the show every Tuesday at 7:30 p.m. It's a live show.
Nice.
I have call-ins, and it's live streamed, so you can actually listen from anywhere. I would think internationally too, but it's 7:30 p.m. Eastern time here in Connecticut.
Nice.
Yeah. So I just try to, be a little bit relatable with, what's going on, not just as a night shift worker, but how, all issues, like issues that are out there, how do you even say it again? Trending issues, or some social issue that I think that is relevant to people that work night. Because, so one thing I did was that a few weeks ago was when I talked about Mental Health Awareness Month in May. This May, was Mental Health Awareness Month. So I kind of started to look at children, their parents work night, because there been studies that show that, there could be some behavioral problems or challenges in young children when their mothers work at night. So, and this is more like in, psychology, a lot of researchers, in the psychology sphere. So I just started looking at that study, and I just, discussed with a couple of my colleagues on the radio show. Is that something that you've experienced? I have my children were young when I started working night, but I think it was children that were less than 10 years old. So elementary school kids. So, the whole conclusion was that, yes, children had their mothers work night could be at higher risk for whether it's learning issues with school, or just behavioral problems. But it was more prevalent in children from low income. So it was still the whole social determinant of health, low income, single parent families, certain neighborhoods. So the problem is not the night shift then. Problem is the home environment, right?
Sure.
So not your mother working night shift is not a risk factor for you to have behavioral issues, but it's just that when your home environment, you don't have that much supervision, you don't have support, then the kid would be at risk for, having, of course, mental health and all that, bad behavior in school. So
but I love that you bring that up too, because don't you think it also helps people feel like my family isn't just falling apart? I work the night shift, and so we need to put into place some supports, because of course my kid is having a little trouble here because we've got this transition time or whatever. And of course my family needs a little more support because we do things a little differently the way the parents work.
No, that is true. I think everybody can, get a little, how do I put it again? There's a little bit of, not just motivation, but people can get something out of this experience. I'm trying to find the English word for this. But as a result of the show, even if you're not a single parent, even if, the home environment is not normal like most people, but there's value. You can get value. I think that's the word I'm looking for. You can get value from just, the show and talking about somebody else's experience. But most of the time, my topics are centered around not just my experience, but the questions I get from my clients. What do I eat at night? When should I exercise? A common one is exercise. When should
that? What is your suggestion on that?
Yeah, because I get it. When should somebody who works nights exercise? And I just tell them that the thing about night shift is that the physicality of everybody's work, everybody's job is not the same.
Sure.
If you're a police officer in public safety, or if you're a security guard who just sits or and just oversees like an area, a whole construction worker, because there's a lot of construction going on now.
Yeah.
The weather is favorable for that. So the physicality is not the same. So we always tell people, don't exercise if you're tired. You're kind of productive. You're not gonna get the benefit. Body is tired, you're gonna hurt yourself.
Yeah.
So, and of course, for some people, when they exercise very close to bedtime, it interferes with their sleep.
Right.
For me, it's not a problem for me. I exercise when I get home from work for my night shift, and I'm fine. And I sleep like a baby. I don't have any issues. And that's kind of what makes talking about shift work and challenges, unique challenges, very exciting to me, because there's a genetic component to how people who work at night, and that's where the chronotype come in.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk about chronotypes, I had to present a webinar yesterday for American Nurses Association in New York.
Nice.
Yeah, so I did a webinar maintaining a normal work-life balance when you work at night. I had to put the normal in asterisk, trying to normalize something that is not so normal. But I just did that webinar, and the questions were like, the same thing I get all the time about sleep, about exercise, what to eat. And I was just like, chronotypes is the big thing now in shift work, in sleep disorder, because, and chronotype, for people who don't know, it means your body's inclination. Does your body prefer, are you a day person or are you a night person? That is just, chronotype, which is for most part genetic. Just a good percentage of that. So for people who are like a late chronotype, the night owl, maybe they work night, maybe they're not going to get sick because it aligns with their natural, body's, susceptibility to night shift. It aligns with that naturally. And then if you work outside or opposite of chronotype, would that be the red herring that you're going to get sick? So that is the exciting thing about shift work and why we don't have all the answers. And because I had somebody who had worked night for like 25 years, but she said, I don't have any problems. Cholesterol is fine. Has no cardiometabolic issues. She knows somebody else who's worked 45 years, night shift work, and has no problem. So it's not like a one-size-fits-all kind of situation at this time, but it's just that for the most part, sleep is something people who work nights, are very concerned about. Night shift work, as a matter of fact, compared to people who work days, you kind of 4 hours. That is what the research shows. Sleep deprived, up to 4 hours compared to somebody sleep deficit, compared to somebody who works day shift. And of course, we know the role of sleep in cognitive health.
Right.
We have to prioritize sleep. So
what tips did you give those nurses to thrive for night shift?
So, first of all, sleep. I am always big on prioritizing your sleep. Don't compromise it for anything. Delegate tasks. Find people to help you. Tell all your neighbors and friends you work at night. Don't call me. I'm not going to be available. Make sure that your room, your environment is conducive for sleep after you work the night shift. And of course, you have to talk about nutrition. Nutrition, you have to minimize, because there was another study that showed too that people who work at night, if you can minimize high calories, sugar, you can actually, decrease or eliminate your risk of diabetes. So what you eat at night is very important. And when you eat at night, it's important too. Of course, eating after midnight is not physiologic. We're not human beings should not be eating, at all times. Our circadian rhythm also follows that after a certain time, you should actually stop eating. So when you're working at night, that's something else that you have to be very aware of, that you have to find ways to, you have to hydrate. I'm very big on hydration. Hydrate, because, when you have that stomach distension, the negative signal, tell your body, your brain that you're full. But
That's interesting. So you tell people to, even though they're eating overnight, to still stop eating before midnight is the best.
if you can stop eating
Yeah.
for midnight, if you can stop, you will be able to regulate your weight better. Because you just cannot, I mean, people who eat all the time, especially nighttime eating, they do have a lot of GI problems, gastrointestinal problems, because it's at night, your whole body, shuts down. That's part of the natural rhythm of the body. So I do propose that people who work nights just have to minimize caloric intake after midnight.
So interesting.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people wouldn't think of that because they think, well, if my shift goes, till 7 a.m., then at 3 a.m. I probably should be eating, but really no.
You should not. You should. I mean, if you can eat, you just have to be very intentional. It has to be low calorie. Your bowl of pasta. You have to eat it way before midnight. If you have, regular meal, try to eat before midnight. But overnight, you can snack on healthy nuts, low-fat yogurt, salad. Shift is about intentionality. That is what night shift is about. You got to do it differently. It's about intentionality. That is what actually helps you to minimize your risk. And of course, sleep. If you can just prioritize and just get 6, 7, even up to 8 hours of sleep, if you can. But it's pretty hard during the summertime because it's so much light, so much stimulation and family, and the kids are going to be out of school. So you have to
Gotcha.
So for me, this is the worst time. Somebody who works nights, because it's just too much. Your body is like, what is going on? Too much light. That's why you have to get those blackout curtains.
Right.
Make sure you have them. You have to get the eye mask, the right temperature in the room, the right mattress, pillow. All those steps and all those steps that you can, initiate and that are within your control. You should make sure you have them in place.
Nice. Yes. Thank you so much. It's funny. I'm smiling because for midlife health and normalizing your weight at midlife, intentionality is also like the most important thing. And making sure that your sleep, which may be disturbed at midlife, is back on track again, and making that a priority. So it's our bodies need this, right? No matter what phase of life and when we work and
we really do need sleep. It's just that sleep and social events, it's always a challenge for people who work at night, because if you think about it, you work at night so you can raise your family. Now the family is home, but you're sleeping because you worked the night before. Then you're not trying to get that balance so that you can, socialize with them and but the communication is always key. Everybody has to work together.
Yeah.
Can optimize your health.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Yel'Ora. It's really great to have you on the show tonight, and such an interesting topic. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you for having me.
And
you should call in. We should just meet up air, and I'll get you in, give you the number. Then you can call from anywhere, and we can chat.
That would be fun. Please let everyone know in the audience that all your contact information and about the radio show will be in the show notes. You've told us about the radio show. How else can people find you online if they want to work with you or find out more information, or have you come put on a program for their night shift workers, or where is that?
Yeah, so, the best way to contact me is just send me an email. If you send me an email at hello, HELLO, at Dr. Yel'Ora, YELORA, coaching.com. Send me an email. I love to read emails because I have a segment of my radio show where I kind of go through emails, question in my box. So, so I kind of try to make it fun. It's 30 minutes, maybe like 26 minutes. But I just try to, so everybody gets something at any time that you tune in. So besides my email, my website is dryel'Ora.com. You can also contact me through my website, and you can call me on the phone. I like to phone calls till 475-208-1371.
All right.
I'm on Instagram, dusk to dawn, and I post on Instagram. I do Facebook, but maybe not as much. Facebook, I go by Dr. Yel'Ora. So, and on LinkedIn, yeah, Dr. Yel'Ora, I'm also on LinkedIn. I do make a lot of connections on LinkedIn here. But like I said, I want to just help people, especially around this time that we have a lot of new graduates. We have a lot of orientation programs going on, and people are kind of wondering, oh my God, I have a new job. How do I, sync my job with my night shift life? Because I want to make more money and pay my loans so I just want to get in. And I have a workbook. I created like a workbook for the workshop. So it's really very interactive, and
Thanks.
I want to do it live, even residents in the night float, because we have teaching programs, and we have residents who really really have a hard time adjusting to
Yeah.
2 weeks of night float.
Right. Right.
So there could be ways that we can help them thrive and do better.
Super. Well, thank you so much for the work that you do. And thanks for being on the show today.
Thank you, Heather. I really had fun. Thanks.